What is up, everybody? You are very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda. I am joined by Mr. Paddy Murphy. How are you, sir?
Craig, my friend, I'm very good. I'm happy that the Lord himself is back and ready to have a chat. Let's just say.
Yeah, I missed it. I missed it when I was away. I mean, you guys did a cracking job, but yeah, you get used to the interactions, you get used to the routine, and great to be back. Would have preferred to be back with a better result last night, but look, we'll get into that, my man.
Indeed.
Loads to get through. And before I do, I want to just say, as always, tonight's stream has been brought to you with thanks to our friends at manscaped.com. Don't forget, you can get 20% off and free shipping anything store-wide at manscaped.com by using our discount code WFM20. And as they say, and as my young lad likes to say, your balls will thank you. It will. And whether that's the Performance Package 4.0, the 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, which obviously I've no need for, the Eau de Toilette or the cologne that Paddy loves so much, you can get 20% off all of that. Is what? There you go. I mean, Paddy's been out there and he's been telling me little spiritual the clone, and he's been pushing the women away all night.
Now, can I just say, like, the statement "your balls will thank you"? Like, that's not just a figure of speech. I applied the little toner to my nether regions, and they genuinely said, "Thank you so much. You've provided us with such great fragrance." Genuinely, like, listen, this channel doesn't get sponsored by sponsors that are just here for the sponsor. They sponsor and they provide top quality gear. So if you do want to use manscaped.com, use code WFM20 for 20% off and free shipping. And your balls will thank you, as Craig and Lucas would say. Lucas, big up Lucas.
True. And that's my wife throwing a little thank you as well. She will. I promise you, she will. She's forever thanking me. Look, there's loads for us to unpack tonight. I want to talk about the stuff from David Ornstein. I want to talk about the Mohamed Salah contract situation. I want to talk about transfers in general. But you might notice, bottom of the screen in the centre, a new little hashtag there. So we were speaking today, myself and Connor, and for the first time, I think maybe in my entire time making content, I am going to come out and say that at this moment in time, I'm definitely FSG out. But that hashtag's already been taken. And we thought, how can we, one, get our point across, and two, boil some piss with the top Reds who don't have anything positive to ever say. So we thought, what could we do? What could we do? Hashtag Wolves against FSG. So if you are posting on social media and you want to vent your ire at the owners, why not throw in hashtag FSG out, of course, but add into that. If you're on board with us, hashtag Wolves against FSG, and we can actually get moving with this because it's getting to a joke at this point. We want people to start speaking out about it. We don't want fans to turn on each other. And that's one thing, Paddy, we want to make really clear. We're all pulling in the same direction. We all want what's best for the club, not to turn on each other.
Absolutely. Listen, for me, I've always been FSG in because I've been very thankful for the place they resurrected us from and provided stuff. But listen, at the end of the day, that can only go so long. And, as you said, as it stands, I would be against FSG. But it's in their hands to provide that. But listen, as you know, there's top Reds out there. There's people like that. But at the end of the day, we're all Liverpool fans. We're all pulling in the same direction. We're all singing from the same hymn sheet. We all want what's best for the club. So we're not against each other, and that's the main thing. Like if you start creating divisions amongst the fan base, that's a bad scene. We're not against. We are the fan base. We're with the fan base. So that's the main thing. We're not against anyone. We're together. We need to be a unified organization. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely. And I echo what Paddy said. I think if we are to have this conversation seriously as grown-up people, we need to be able to understand that there's points on both sides. There's valid points on both sides of this. And we can't talk about the negative aspects of our owners, what really annoys us, which is the spending, without also acknowledging the positive things that they've done, as well as the mistakes that they've made. So everybody's opinions are welcome. All we're saying is, if you're at the point that we're currently at, which is we're sick of the lack of investment in the playing squad. We're sick of looking at a generational manager with success, but limited success in our view because of the lack of backing financially from the owner. So that's where we're at, and that's what we're asking you to do. What we don't want you to do is turn on each other, because that's going to just divide us more, and that's going to create more tensions throughout a fan base that's already got tensions through ticketing and stuff like that as well. So, yeah, it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but we want to make ourselves noticed. We want to make ourselves heard. So, Paddy, to start off with, mate, let's talk about David Ornstein today. David Ornstein, obviously of The Athletic, a very reputable top-tier journalist, speaking about the fact that he doesn't believe that Sadio Mane and Roberto Firmino will sign on for new deals at the club. What he went on to say was, I do think they'll make offers to them and that it'll be down to the players to decide if they want to accept them. Now, Paddy, to me, immediately when I read this from David Ornstein, alarm bells start ringing in my head, because to me this sets up a situation where the PR machine that is our owners are going to try and paint these guys out to be bad guys or villains or greedy. And look, if you don't want to give them new contracts, don't give them new contracts, but don't try and turn the fans against players that have done so well and players that we all love. We understand it's time to evolve, it's time to move on, and difficult decisions will have to be made. But I won't accept, and I know you won't, and anybody else, us trying to be turned against these players. If the manager and the owners want to move them on, that's their prerogative. But let's not paint them out to be villains here, because that's couldn't be further from the truth.
Yes, absolutely. Listen, we love these guys. There's particular members of the squad that we have a lot of time for, and one thing we won't stand for is them being paid in a bad light. Now, the case of a contract negotiation, it varies from player to player. Mohamed Salah deserves an improved contract. Roberto Firmino and Sadio Mane do not deserve an improved contract. Do they deserve a renewal based on the current terms? Perhaps. If they agree to getting, it's a tough one, because player to player it varies. But we will never accept, players being made out to be the villain, because at the end of the day they have a family to look after and all this stuff. But Sadio Mane and Roberto Firmino, as much as we love them, they're kind of being phased out. They are going from being the main men to being fringe men. That's where it should go, in my opinion. So therefore, their deals should reflect that. And should their new deals be a downgrade on their current deal, naturally themselves, they might not want to feel like they want to agree to that. And if they don't, that is down to them. But I don't feel the club should be held to ransom for players like Mane and Firmino. However, they should be held to ransom, in my opinion, for Salah, which we will get to. But in terms of Bobby and Mane, as much as I love the both of them, I do love them. They have to recognize what they're worth now and what they are to the team. And ideally, Firmino is not a starting man anymore, I'm sorry to say. Mane, he is a starting man right now. However, in my opinion, he shouldn't be for much longer. We should look to the new age. Maybe the club is feeling that as well. But yeah, if there's one man in the team that they're going to be willing to offer a generous contract, it's Mohamed Salah. But unfortunately for Roberto and Sadio, it's not going to happen. And it's sad, but if they feel they have to move on, they have to move on. The club's hands are tied, in my opinion.
There's been some warning signs over the last few months, Paddy, and I would look back to the Gini Wijnaldum situation. He wasn't, people will say that they don't think he deserved a new contract or whatever, but I don't feel he was treated respectfully enough for what he did and what he'd been part of. So for me, that's when alarm bells really started to ring. I've always known that our owners are a little bit miserly, that they aren't, we sell to buy to some extent. I mean, you look at the Felipe Coutinho money, we know what that brought to the club. But what I can't accept, what you can't accept, and what nobody will accept is a situation where we're already starting to see things like coming out in the Telegraph to say that the owners are just not going to give Mohamed Salah what he's asking for. And there's two ways to look at that. Is it going to be just a financial aspect? Are they just not willing to match his wages because they believe they're in a good position, that Real Madrid and Barcelona aren't hovering around anymore, waiting to come in and capitalize on because they have other targets? Or is it because maybe Mohamed Salah said to them, look, love the club, love being here, love the manager, we can figure out the money, but I want some guarantees and assurances that you're going to reinvest back into the squad and we're going to be able to compete at the highest level and win these big tournaments and win these trophies? Because ultimately, these guys are going to get paid wherever they play football, but they want to look back on their career, Paddy, and they want to know that they've won medals, that they've lifted trophies. That's what they're going to share with their grandkids.
Yeah, the Mohamed Salah stuff is very, very sensitive, and I think Mr. Jamie Carragher was talking about that on the show last night. Mohamed Salah is a world-class footballer. Giving him a 5-year deal, the club may have a bit of worry that he might not be the same guy. Listen, Mohamed Salah is a world-class athlete. He like Cristiano Ronaldo. He's value for his buck, if you get me. And it's very intriguing I'm very intrigued to see what the genuine disputes are with FSG and Salah. People say, as you said, it could be to do with Salah wanting assurances, but I feel like Salah loves the club so much, as much as he wants improvement and wants, assurances that there's going to be new signings. I feel like it's very hard to put that down in a contractual manner. It's hard to put that into a contract. So I feel like it's just the club undervaluing Mohamed Salah. And I made a video on this and broke it down. And like, if you were to give Salah a 5-year deal at a £400,000 a week, it would equate to around 104 million across the 5 years, give or take. Craig, I'm going to ask you a simple question. If I gave FSG £104 million, could they go into the market and find someone that would replicate or better Mohamed Salah's goal contributions? Simple question.
No, not if you add into account transfer fee and wages and extrapolate that over the course of 5 years. Not a hope. They'd have to be very, 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 very lucky for that to happen.
Yeah, well, and that's what I genuinely cannot fathom. There's a case. I know Salah he's not getting any younger. At the end of his current deal will bring him to around 31, I believe. Right? You add maybe 3.5 years onto that. Mohamed Salah is not magically going to become Christian Benteke overnight. He's not magical. He's an athlete. He's going to stay at a decent level. And I would even say that should maybe one or two of the years not be the traditional Mo Salah, he's deserved the right to get a new contract based on his current performances. And like to not give him one, as Jamie Carragher said, it will bring untold pressure on those owners. And, I've always been FSG in to a degree, but the FSG in or out, it's completely hinged on this Salah deal. They give him one, I'm happy to stay along for the ride. They don't give him one, I want them out of the club as early as possible because it will be a disgraceful decision.
Here's where I am with FSG, Paddy. I gave up any belief in them after the Super League stuff. That was it. That was the last stab in the back for me to the fan base. But we waited to see. But here's what I don't understand about Mohamed Salah. Taking FSG's own philosophy, they have said that they bring people into the football club and they give these guys incentives to make sure that if the club is successful, they'll be remunerated correctly. Now, I don't know what more Mohamed Salah can do other than he's smashed every record. He's broken the goal scoring charts. He's continuously getting better. He's the top goal scorer in the Premier League. He is one of, if not the greatest footballer currently plying his trade in the world. So by their own reckoning, he deserves an increase. He has put up the numbers. He has done what they've asked him to do. So there's no reason not to give him a renewed contract and not to give him a little bump in wages by their own methods. So I don't understand where their heads are at with this one. And like you've said, best of luck going out there and replacing those numbers for 104, 105 million quid.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I understand from a wage structure point of view that we are not the same as a Man City, as a PSG, etc. But if you look at it, 400 grand is the same as Kevin De Bruyne is on, okay? And if you look at Kevin De Bruyne's importance in the Man City hierarchy, yeah, he's a very important player, but if they lost Kevin De Bruyne tomorrow, they could manage. And not only could they manage, they could replace Kevin De Bruyne. But Mohamed Salah is so integral to everything we do. Can you imagine a Mohamed Salah that was there if he was there last night? We miss him so much when he's not there. He's our bread and butter. Mohamed Salah is key to everything we do. And like he's not asking for world record amounts. He's not asking for the most that's ever been paid by a Premier League player. He's asking for the same as Kevin De Bruyne. And if you look in terms of who's the best player in the league, I would say Mohamed Salah is the best player in the league. And he should be paid so. The times are changing. The club is crying over a wage structure. But like, if anyone's going to be breaking the wage structure, it's Mohamed Salah. Break it for him. Give him the money, because otherwise you're going to face the wrath of every Liverpool fan on the world.
Look at this on screen. And this is a figure that I've seen across many platforms. Our net spend since December 2018 is minus 3.6 million quid. Minus 3.6 million quid. And we're supposed to believe that Jurgen Klopp can go on and challenge for the Premier League consistently against the financial powerhouses that are Manchester United, Manchester City. I'll talk about the next manager after Jurgen Klopp. Will it be Pep Linders? Will it be Steven Gerrard? Well, Steven Gerrard right now has gone into a club who's shown more ambition immediately after he's come in than our owners seem to have shown in the past 3 or 4 years to Jurgen Klopp. I don't understand that. I don't.
I know, and you'll have like top breads been like, but we don't need such. We're not the same as Villa. We already have a world class squad. I'm gonna say some breaking news here. Squads age This squad that we won the league with, won the Premier League with, aren't going to be there forever. We need new blood and new people. And we don't want 7 million signings from the Austrian league. You know, we signed Takumi Minamino when we played a Salzburg team that had Dominic Szoboszlai, Erling Haaland, and even Wang Hee-chan to a degree. And we thought, oh, we'll sign fucking Minamino over 7 million. Oh, how shrewd is that? We need investment. You're against Man City, arguably one of the best team. Well, the best Premier League team in history with the best facilities, the best money. Yes, it's hard to compete with them toe to toe, but at least show some ambition. As you said, Aston fucking Villa are showing more ambition than Liverpool Football Club. Steven Gerrard, the man we idolise, the man we want to take over from Klopp, all things going well. Currently, right now, Steven Gerrard will, if he came to Liverpool, would downgrade to a less ambitious ownership. From Aston Villa, what does that tell you? That should never be allowed to happen. We need to capitalize on the good moments. And as we've talked about before, we're in a danger of being a case of what if Jurgen Klopp's going to finish his time in Liverpool? It's going to be like, what if those owners actually spent a few quid? And we've been saying it for years, but they're still not doing it, and it truly baffles me. And I'm actually really upset about it because, you know, we have the money, like, and people are going to say, but they've done the stadium, they've done the 2 stands. Yeah, fair play, you can do it all. The money they make off us, they bought us for him.
That's so people say, and I've given them credit for this as well, that they've built the main stand, they're doing the Annie Road end. But what they fail to remember is that we as fans and fans all around the world and TV money will pay for that. So they will get that money back. They didn't just go and go, let's spunk 200 million quid on the main stand on the Abbey Road. That money back. So ultimately, the fans, the TV rights, the shirt sales, all that stuff will pay for this. So they've done that out of the kindness of their heart. So it's a bit of a false economy in my mind. They've done it because they know, much like if you or I bought a house and we whacked an extension on it, it will up the value.
Exactly, and they're making money with us constantly. They're making money, making profit always. You know, breaking news: John W. Henry and fucking the other shower of pricks. You know, you can make profit, but also invest as well. Like, we're not magically going to be like good forever. Jurgen Klopp cannot always wield the magic wand. You know, listen, and as much as we say that, like, I dare I say, like, you know, yes, Jurgen Klopp won us the Premier League for the first time in 30 years, or the league even, and the Champions League. Fantastic. But no matter what you say and how you spin it, as of now, and it will get even worse, we have still, I would say, underachieved. And I know we're against the powerhouse in Man City, but we've underachieved, and I'm sorry, we deserve more. And we've had the position to have more, but the club have been willing to try and cost cut and get cheap signings. Spend your money and buy the big boys. Why do we always need to craft youngsters and you know, mold them in and work them in? Just sign ready-made world-class talents. We're Liverpool fucking Football Club, one of the biggest clubs in the world, top 5, no matter what you say. So do it. Stop penny pinching and stop buying NHL teams and spend money. Get an Erling Haaland, a Jude Bellingham, and do it. Stop letting us stagnate and fall behind Man City more and more and more.
Here's what gets me, Paddy. We're constantly being told that the new Nike deal is going to bring in money to the club to help us compete. The new corporate partnerships that the club have, the new commercial partners that are brought on board will help it. The players that we have, Mohamed Salah, worldwide stars, will generate income. Then we get in the same breath, but we've got no money to spend because we have a high wage bill. Well, something doesn't add up here. Something absolutely stinks to me, because we have a high wage bill, and I'm taking that at face value because I don't see the account. I don't know the accounts. But how can other clubs, and I don't mean Manchester United, because they're an anomaly to some extent. Manchester United, Real Madrid, they generate a shitload of money. We aren't in that category. But our highest earner is right now, I believe, Virgil van Dijk, after signing his new contract, at around 220, something like that. Manchester United paid Alexis Sanchez 450 grand a week. How much money are Aston Villa paying Felipe Coutinho? 70%, I think, of his wages that he's on at Barcelona. And that's Aston Villa. No Champions League football. Just avoided relegation the previous campaign. And as you said, Everton have even shown more ambition under Mashiri than they've spent. It is like they got the manager in that we all knew could work wonders, and that they've doubled down on that and thought, well, he's done it once. let's just hope that he can bring in these great young talents from around the world and that these players can suddenly become the next Mohamed Salah. It doesn't work like that. Our manager himself has come out and said that you need one or two new faces every single window to make sure that there's a bit of competition in the squad, to make sure that it's freshened up, and to make sure people are pushed for their places. Right now, our players know that there's nobody over their shoulder. And we're in a time, by the way, where we knew that this January situation was arising. We knew that we were going to have no Mo. And we're supposed to be reliant on Divock Origi, Thiago, who were nowhere to be seen at the minute. So there's a bigger conversation to be had here. And for me, I've said this earlier on, and I'll double down on it. We need to get rid of two of Oxlade-Chamberlain, Thiago, or Keita. I don't argue over which ones. You know, you can talk. I think for me, keep Keita and get rid of Thiago and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, or keep Thiago and get rid of. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain has to be in the three in my head.
Yeah.
So Thiago, I think, was worth a punt. 5 million a year, 25 million, 4-year contract, 5 down. I think that was worth a punt. But we can't afford to carry that many passengers because every time we need these guys, for some reason, they're not available, whether it's injury or whatever. They're just not available. Whereas Gini Wijnaldum, the man who was allowed to walk out of the club, and people will say that he wasn't up to his own high standards, that's fair enough, but he was available. He was there. He was a pair of legs the manager could depend upon.
Yeah, and absolutely, and touching on what you say there, like, listen, we're all like, and I agree with you. I'm all for trashing FSG. And you were talking about Alexis Sanchez being on 450 odd at Man United. And listen, I do have a respect for them for what they've done. Like we were in a very bad situation with Hicks and Gillette back in the day financially. And, you know, the club was, there was rumors of the club going bust and all this. So, you know, I have a lot of adoration for how they've managed things to date, you know, to a degree, keeping the wage bill to a, you know, relatively well. Like, you know, there's not like Alexis Sanchez, like, you know, United and clubs like Barcelona and all that, they've lost the run on themselves, like throwing big deals at mediocre players. So I'm thankful for having like like, you know, in some cases their financial stringency can prove to be smart, you know, and I'm glad our wage bill isn't astronomical, you know. But there's time for evolving. It's time to evolve. It's time they give Mohamed Salah what he deserves. He's good value for 400 grand a week. I won't hear anything else. You know, he's been a good servant to the club. You know, his agent isn't looking for mad things. But as you said, yeah, no, spot on. You know, we just need a bit of injection, and it's just frustrating to see. But no, I like, as much as I want to clown on FSG, but I will say, like, I do have a degree of respect for what they brought us from. They brought us to the league.
I think we have to acknowledge that.
That can only last so long. Yeah, no, but no, you're right, and that counts for only so much. You know, that's great and all. Yeah, grand. And what next? We don't want to stand still. Look at Man City; they win something every year. They pump money in and pump money in and pump money in, and people will say, "Oh, they have more money," but it doesn't matter. They show more ambition. We won the Champions League, and we signed Adrian San Miguel and Sepp van den Berg. Sepp is currently, you know, playing at Preston and not doing too bad, but listen, he's not, you know, come on now, let's be honest. Well, he's not the next, you know, we just have never shown, we feel like it's a case of, oh no, we're grand. No, we're grand. We don't need anything. Whereas other clubs, while they're on top, they strike and capitalize on the gap they already have. Whereas we are just happy to be like, oh, we're ahead, but no, Man City, you can come now. Oh, yeah, give a go. Yeah, come on. You know, I'm sick of it. We just capitalize while we're good.
I'm not going to disagree with you, mate. And like, I'm sick of excuses, especially when we have a transfer committee that's made up of obviously Michael Edwards, Jurgen Klopp, the scouts, who have genuinely got it right. Like, I mean, let's look at the big money signings that they've made. Diogo Jota. I mean, what a signing he has been. You know, people have said, was it a bit hefty at the top? No, he's turned out to be a bargain. Fabinho, spot on. Van Dijk, spot on. Alisson, spot on. Kanade, I believe, will be an absolute superstar, and I think he's still got a bit of work to do, but he's still a young centre-back. Matip, absolute clever piece of business. Rolls Royce of defender. Yeah, we've got the injury concerns often with Matip, but thankfully he's holding up right now, and he's been I think he's been our best defender this year, in all honesty. So if you have that, so you've got a transfer committee that have proved their worth, their knowledge, their value, been able to unearth talents. Costa Simic is another great example of this. When we were told, okay, we couldn't get the guy from Norwich at the time because they were asking too much money, so they went and got Costas. Brilliant. Andy Robertson, another example, fantastic. So there are bargains to be had. So if you don't trust this transfer committee with your money, and it is their money, whatever we talk about, they're the owners of the club. It's technically their money. If you don't trust them, who have proven to have a great hit rate, then who the fuck are you going to trust? Who are you going to bring in? Who are you going to sign checks for that will do better?
Exactly, and it's like, listen, we all love Jurgen Klopp, and those comments he made last night about would any club in the world miss Sadio Mane, the AFCON lads. We couldn't have been better prepared. Like, it's like, I feel like deep down, like Klopp and Pep Linders and Peter Kravitz, all the lads, they have transfer targets. They're not naive. I just feel like they're not getting the backing. Like, it's just so upsetting. Luis Diaz, Colombian from Porto, we've been rumored with him. He is, I know he's a lot of money, but like, you'd swear we were struggling for a few quid. Like, the FSG have made unbelievable profits since they came into the club. They have the money there. Spend the money. And I know Klopp was like, oh, we can't just get players that will play for January. And then, no. It is possible to sign players that will help in January and will help for good also, and God forbid, push those stagnant starting 11. And I've said it. Sadio Mane has had a free pass at Liverpool because he stunk up Anfield a lot of times in the last 2 years. And it's simple as that. He has been absolutely awful at times, but he hasn't had anyone challenging him. Kostas Tsimikas came in, challenged Robbo.
So,
go on.
Sir Klopp here said, you're saying there are bargains to be had and you scoff at the links to 8 million.
We don't scoff.
The transfer committee. Okay, firstly, I don't think I've scoffed at those links. I think I've said I don't know enough about this guy and I haven't watched enough of Borussia Mönchengladbach. And I've also said that we're scrounging around trying to find 7 million to sign him, and that's embarrassing. So, I'm all for being critiqued, mate, but, at least get what I say, be fair about it.
Hold on. Sorry. We're not calling for Jude Bellingham, Haaland and Mbappe all in one. We're calling for signings. Any signings. Not the creme de la creme. Yes, it would be great to get them in the summer. Absolutely. We're calling for improvement in January to an already depleted squad. It's as simple as that. There is shrewd business to be had there, and they're acting as if they can't. It's crazy. Like 6 million for Dennis Zakaria. Liverpool can throw that money at Zakaria. He could be the biggest flop in history and arguably still selling for a profit or a slight loss. You get me? Like, I'm not talking about Zakaria in general, but it's like the club is allergic to signing anyone because unless they can sign the next Mohamed Salah or the next best thing, they don't want to do it. It's like, what you mean? We need help now. Our squad is depleted. And as you said last night, looking at that game last night, Takumi Minamino, I love the man. Great guy. He's not the quality we need. We are big enough to be able to sign someone for 40, 50 million more, like, like a Luis Diaz or a Jared Bowen or a Rafinha. He'd cost a few quid. Go out and sign them right now. Don't always analyze everything. Sign them. You know what I'm saying? Sign those players. They're good enough. I'm sick of having to always have the finished product. Oh, Liverpool, Klopp. Oh, unless we can sign the next fucking Lionel Messi, we're not going to sign him. Why? Why? No other clubs in the world do that. You'd swear we were Burnley. We need improvements. We need help. We are struggling right now.
What gets me, though, is I hate to say this because I love the man to death, but it doesn't help when Klopp comes out with the nonsense he came out with last night, talking about any team would miss Keita, Mane and Salah. Well, yes, of course. But we also knew this was going to happen. We also knew that these guys were going away. And the support that's supposed to be there is Origi, who's injured, Thiago, who's injured, and Origi, by the way, who's supposed to be the fallback, can leave at the end of the season. Right now, he could sign a pre-contract agreement, I believe, with somebody else. Now, people will come back and say the club have an option to trigger a year extension. They do, if he plays a certain amount of Premier League games, which he's not on target to hit. So we're going to lose him as well for nothing.
Yeah, and as you said, listen, those comments from Klopp last night, he said that comment and any team would miss them. We couldn't. It's not like we knew AFCON was coming. Did you know AFCON was happening in the middle of the year? No, surely that was a surprise, wasn't it? That was like a last minute thing, wasn't it? No, the club definitely didn't know that was coming, and they needed to have reinforcements ready. It's not as if we're a world renowned football club with dedicated staff to do that sort of stuff. No, definitely not. So what are you talking about, Jurgen? Now, I feel sorry for Jurgen to a degree because, listen, we're talking about all FSG stuff. He probably has the same gripe about FSG. It's not like Jurgen Klopp doesn't want to sign players. He can only sign players that they're willing to back. So I feel like Jurgen Klopp is unfortunately becoming a scapegoat here because he's the spokesman. He's the spokesman for the club. FSG are like, Jurgen Klopp probably says, yeah, I want to sign him. And Jurgen Klopp are like, no. So I feel like it's a horrible position for him. But
Yeah,
they
and
are going to waste.
he has
They're
to
going to
keep the
waste one of the
harmony in
best
the
managers
group
we've
as
ever
well.
had.
Yeah, Klopp has to
Yeah,
keep things
exactly.
ticking along. He has to keep the players happy, the staff happy, the public profile of the club up, and make sure. So I understand he's got a tightrope to walk, but I guess what I'd like to try and, if I could address Klopp in some way, and obviously I can't, but I'd like to say to him, look, mate, speak up, because you've an entire fan base behind you, an entire fan base that thinks you walk on water, an entire fan base that will walk to the ends of the earth for Jurgen Klopp, because we know what he's done for this football club.
Yeah, and I agree. And listen, as much as I'd love Klopp to do that, I think we do forget that, you know, as much as we idolize Klopp, he is an employee, right? And FSG are his owner. So he can't naturally come out and just start talking shite about FSG and their lack of investment. I feel like his hands are tied to a degree. I feel like he wants to come out and say that. I feel like he definitely has a list of transfer possible players there. But FSG seem to be the real negative in all this. Like, and as we discussed on previous shows, they are already seeing the profits going up. And once the profits are still rising, they have zero intention in providing new investment. And it's really sad to see. I've seen a comment Connor said on a live last night. It's like they're great owners for a B+ club, but now we've like graduated to a current like A+ club. They're not good enough. We need someone with more ambition. And I've always been FSG in, but I listen. And I think you said before you wouldn't want to be taken over by one of them oil-rich countries. But honestly, I would. I don't care who provides the money. If they're willing to just spend big bucks and get the best players in, that's all I care about, to be honest.
See, I'd still stand over the fact that I wouldn't like to be owned by a petro country or something like that, because I believe the money's here for us to do what needs to be done. I believe the money's generated to do what we need to be done. And I think that if there is one fault, and if it is even a fault that I would aim at Jurgen Klopp, it's that maybe he's too loyal. And I know that sounds odd. I know that sounds counterproductive, because how can you be too loyal? But sometimes a manager needs to just make the tough decisions, like Alex Ferguson did at Manchester United, moving on Roy Keane. And yeah, you won't often get it right. Sometimes you'll move on a player and you'll think a little bit too early. But right now, for me, Paddy, Divock Origi has no future at the club because of his own situation with the contract. Whatever else we think about it is running down. Minamino isn't good enough. It's been 2 years, and I haven't seen enough progress to say that this lad's going to click. Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think his day is run. James Milner, I think his time at the club is coming to an end. Look back on it with nothing but fondness and gratitude for what James Milner did. Love him to bits. But there are just too many passengers being carried for me, too many people who are comfortable. And I would say that we need to start moving Jordan Henderson to the James Milner position of being a utility player, being coming in to close out games, maybe just be Klopp's trusted lieutenant on the pitch in games in the League Cup where you need one senior pro on there and stuff like that. Still be the club captain, because I don't think, you have to strip him of the captaincy. I don't want him stripped of the captaincy. I think he's an amazing captain. But as I said, two for me, those three midfielders need to go. And all of that, on top of the fact that we haven't replaced Gini Wijnaldum, somebody who Klopp could get 50, 55 games a year from. So where are those minutes? You can talk about Harvey Elliott. Yeah, unlucky with the injury to him. Elliott will come back and be fantastic, no doubt about it. But we need to strengthen. We did learn the lessons from not replacing Dejan Lovren. It took us to nearly miss out in the Champions League before eventually getting Kanade, who will be great. But they don't seem to learn their lessons. They seem to go back over and make the same mistakes again.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm going to cover most of the stuff you said there, but I agree with the Henderson stuff. I love the man. He's a great captain, but I feel like ultimately in the last few months, he has not been performing to the degree we expect. He's a great player, great captain, but ultimately I feel our best midfield is without Jordan Henderson. So make it that what you will. And, the Genie stuff is it feels like almost deja vu with this Salah stuff. Obviously, Genie was never as important as Mohamed Salah, but Genie's availability, I feel like we took for granted. Genie got an awful lot of stick. He was often a scapegoat, but he provided us with so much great moments. He was always available, and people might be like, "Oh, always available. What a big trait!" But if you look at our midfielders now, that's probably puts them ahead of most. So the club the owners aren't learning. They're not giving these players who deserve new contracts. They're being extremely stingy, and it's going to cost us. They've got away with it to a degree for now, But again, if they try and skimp at the Mo Salah deal, that'll be the end of them in my eyes. As soon as they don't give Mo Salah a contract, God forbid, like I hope it doesn't come to that. But if they do that, their days are numbered at this club. But yeah, no, it's just as you said, they're not learning. And there is a lot of players that are due to move out. I'm going to be honest with you right now. This might sound a bit harsh. I hope James Milner never starts another important game for Liverpool Football Club ever again. He's been a great servant. He's done really well since his game. Probably one of the best free transfers ever. But sentimental value can only get you so far. As you said, Klopp is too loyal. There's being loyal, there's rewarding people, but there's also being stupid and picking players that are not good enough. And James Milner is not good enough to be starting in an integral game for Liverpool. He's just not good enough. I'm sick of having to, and I'm also sick of having to accept that. People on Twitter are like, oh, James has done so much. He once walked my grandmother across the road. I don't give a shite. The bottom line is he's not good enough to start big games. And I'm sick of this loyalty, blinded loyalty. You have to be pragmatic. You have to just make tough calls and start the best players possible.
I want to give both sides of this conversation a fair go. So I want to bring up this comment from Bernadette, who is a regular viewer and a regular contributor to the channel. So Bernadette said, a multi-billionaire owner won't get Everton, Newcastle, Villa to the top this year. It takes seasons. We do need to strengthen, but I prefer FSG, who have a great legacy, than someone known. So let's break that down and be fair about it. She's right. They won't throw money at a situation, won't get it resolved immediately. But what I would say, Bernadette, my own opinion here is, I'm seeing too many parallels to what happened at the Red Sox, where they came in, they broke the curse of their Bambino, they delivered a couple of World Series, and now Red Sox fans have seen players moved on, great players traded away, and the club languishing somewhat, from my very limited understanding of what goes on in baseball. But for us, yes, they were part of our success. Of course they were. They brought in Jurgen Klopp. They brought us there. But sometimes you can't rest on your laurels. You can't just sit back. I don't want to look back at Jurgen Klopp's time and have one Premier League, one European Cup, and the other two trophies that we won. Brilliant 12 months. A 12 months none of us will ever forget. But we don't want to be talking about this in 20 years' time. We want there to have been 3, 4, 5 Premier Leagues. We want Jurgen Klopp to go down in the absolute greats of the Premier League era, right alongside the Pep Guardiolas, the Alex Fergusons, the Arsene Wengers. And they're not giving them the opportunity to do that, in my eyes. So, while I respect Bernadette and what she has to say, and I understand that we have to be careful what we wish for to some extent, there has to be somebody out there who has ambition, who really wants to push the club on. Because it's one thing generating all this cash, but you've got to generate the cash and then have success on the pitch, because that will keep the ball rolling, keep things moving along. So I understand, I appreciate where Bernadette's coming from, and anybody who does have positive things to say about the owners, you're always going to have a platform here. Just share those, because they have done positive things. They've done positive stuff, but they keep making mistakes, whether it be the ticket fiasco, whether it be the Super League fiasco. And that apology to me was almost as bad as the Super League stuff, Paddy. That Super League apology video still riles me to this day.
Oh, I mean, yes. I mean, that whole Super League stuff was a car crash. It was an absolute embarrassment. And it doesn't surprise me they were so on board, because, it seems like a very Americanized idea. The apologies was pathetic. But to touch on what you were saying there about, after Jurgen Klopp's tenure, it's been a great ride, great 12 months. But ultimately, we're underachieving. And the saddest part about this underachievement is, with the right backing, and had FSG, struck when they could have, we wouldn't have underachieved. I think that's fair to say. Jurgen Klopp is a genius. He's an exquisite manager. He works wonders and has worked miracles to a degree at Liverpool. And had he have received the backing he probably would have wanted, we would have won more than just one. And don't get me wrong, by the time he leaves, I still feel like we have a Champions League and a Premier League in us. I feel like the Champions League this year is very much still on board, because I think we know how good we are in Europe. But no, it's just very sad to see. And also Fahim, yes, they did try to trademark Liverpool, and that was also very, you can't trademark Liverpool. That was one of the biggest mistakes they've made also. I'm sure Craig will go on to that as well. But, as you said, the idea of underachieving is very sad, but the even sadder part is, it's because of a lack of investment, not for a lack of Jurgen Klopp trying. It's the lack of investment from the owners themselves.
I want to try and be balanced here somewhat. So I want to look at this from an FSG side for a second. When they bought the football club, and they make no secret of this, they bought the football club on the premise that they believe FFP was going to be enforced and that there would be a level playing field. So I have no problem with them saying that. I have no problem with that being true. But what I do have a problem with is still hanging on if you know that you cannot compete and FFP isn't going to be enforced, which it clearly isn't at this point. We know that. There are always ways to get around it. There are great lawyers out there. There's a court of arbitration for sports, so many other reasons. So we're at a point now where we know FFP doesn't exist and it's not going to exist. So if you can't compete or don't have to fight to compete, then it is time to start looking to bring in more money or selling up part of the football club. And that's what's annoying me right now is I have sympathy for them if they came in thinking that FFP was going to be a thing. I really do. But then that sympathy was all lost when they tried to Americanize European competition. They tried to get on board with this Super League, this closed shop of no competition and a never-ending ring of money that keeps coming in, like in the NFL, where there's no relegation, no promotion, just money, 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 money. Every year, guaranteed money, loads of money. Can't have it both ways. You either front up and say that we can no longer take the club forward, we have reached, we've plateaued, and we need to find new investors to come in and push us on. We're not idiots, but we're being treated like idiots.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And listen, to if there's any Americans in the chat, not to disrespect the model that is in place in America, but the Americanized system of no relegation, that is for me absolutely not sport.
Sorry to cut across you, Paddy. I'm with you. And what I meant to say there was, it's their culture, and they grew up with that culture. So that's fine. Yeah. That's their sporting culture. Our sporting culture around football has been different. So yeah. I don't want to just have a pop at America.
No, of course. But for me, in my opinion, the American model of no relegation up, all that stuff, that is the antithesis of sport for me. Because for me, sport is like, sport is sport. You can go up, you can go down, and all this stuff. Like, and listen, in our lifetime, Liverpool have never really been in danger of going down. I mean, the Roy Hodgson times and stuff. But sport, like when the Super League stuff was announced, I don't know about you, but I've seen your stuff on it. That was gut wrenching to me because I genuinely thought I was going to fall out of love with Liverpool Football Club and sport and football itself. And I would have, Craig. Like, and it's not just cliche. Had it have, no, absolutely. Had it have gone to that Super League aspect, I would have been done. I would have started even following Gaelic football over here in Ireland. Even more so. I that would not have been for me. Sport is, what I know. Why I support Liverpool is for the Premier League, the Champions League, the cups. That is what I know, and that format is perfect. I don't see a need to change it. There's enough money in the bloody game already. These owners are so greedy. And I know it's that Fiorentino Perez bellend from Spain. He's a key cog in this, and he's still trying to do it. But Fiorentino, mate, with all due respect, you're going to be dead in about a few years anyway, so fuck off and leave sport alone.
Florentino, simple as that. Bronchi, Glazer, and John W. Henry.
Scumbag.
Four
yeah.
people to me that were absolutely in cahoots about this.
Yeah, and they don't give a shit about us, the average fan. And there's going to be comments saying, "Oh, you're not a real fan." You're not. Fuck off. I don't care. Any genuine scouts, people from the club themselves, but us as fans, they don't care about us. They don't care about our opinions. All they care about is the dollar, the few quid. That is, and it's such a sick trait. And I know it's a business. Don't get me wrong. I'm not naive. They need to make money, of course. But football is made by the fans. Without fans, football is nothing. Without Divock Origi, football is nothing. Did you get me?
And these cowards, by the way, Paddy, these fucking cowards that are cowering because they're afraid to lose access. And I'm not going to name anybody here, but the type of people I'm talking about, the people who get access to the club, the people who get interviews with the club, the people who will suck on that corporate teeth until their bank accounts are full. In my eyes, if you don't speak up right now, if you don't speak up and say that we're being shafted by these owners, then you're part of the fucking problem as far as I'm concerned. I don't care if that's journalists, other fan content creators. Speak up or shut up, because right now we're all frustrated, and some of us have the backbone to stand up and say it as it is. Some of us have been hated by the club for a long time and couldn't give a shit about it, because my love is for that crest, for those players, for the other fans around the world who I've had the pleasure to interact with and get to know on a yearly, daily, weekly basis. That's where my loyalty is right now, with those other fans that are suffering, not with those people that are filling their pockets and getting access. They can kiss my ass as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Listen, I no amount of corporate deals or any of that shit would ever sway me. Like, I'll always provide my genuine opinion, as you would, Craig. You're the king of that. And your work during the Super League, is commended to you. You didn't pull any punches, and we love that. To all them bootlickers that are willing to throw not turn an eye to these things, fair play to them. That will never be me.
Taking the soup, as we'd say, Paddy.
Which?
They're taking the soup, as we'd say.
Oh, absolutely. The Super League, if there's a genuine fan out there that didn't call out the Super League or was for it, just stop supporting football, because I remember when it first came out, I genuinely was in a bit of a depression. Like, I was like, no, this can't be, like, this is not real. This would be against everything I've ever stood for in football. Like, football is what we know. Like, the model we have right now in the Premier League and the Champions League, and as a supporter of an English team, naturally, it's perfect. Don't fucking change. The formula is spot on. So all these Americans and all these, this Americanized idea. And again, if you're an American, I'm sorry to clown on the American system, but for me, that is not sport. Any competition where you can't be punished for being bad, i.e. relegation, is not a real sport for me. And I will stand by that. And I'm not sure if that's in the case I know it is in the NFL, but I know it's in the MLS, but I don't know if that's every American sport. But if the main league in the country is, if you pay enough money, you secure your spot. That is not sport for me. That is a like a show. That's like a Britain's Got Talent or one of those things. It's like a facade. That's not a real, true integral competition for me.
Yeah, look, I've got dogs abuse for years, Paddy, saying what I've said, and because I say what's on my mind and I don't care. I couldn't give a shite who it offends. I don't want to offend anybody, but my views are just that, my views. And I refuse to hold back because I think it might cause damage or I mightn't get access. Look, the club have gone out of their way to make sure that people haven't met up with us when we've gone on trips, to make sure that things have happened. They've monitored us. We know we have proof that they have. But ultimately, from day one, my goal with this channel has been to create a community of people who are together because they love the club. For whatever reason, no matter if you're a supporter from Liverpool, America, Australia, Canada, a day, a week, a month, or 50 years, you're welcome with us. You're welcome to share your opinions on here, and we'll treat you with respect and dignity. Same hasn't been done towards us by a lot of people. And we've succeeded in spite of these people that have tried their best to keep us down, and a lack of opportunities we've had, and a lack of awards we've received, and a lack of stuff that's been worked against us because they want to keep it as a closed shop to those content creators who've done well and made a living from this. So to all of them, it's time to speak up. It's time to grow a pair. It's time to strap on a pair of balls, stand up, and remember why you started supporting the football club. Remember, whether you're a journalist who start writing articles and is now working for a well-known company, whether you're a fan channel, whether you're a podcast, whatever it is, remember why you started supporting this football club. And it was because Emlyn Hughes, Phil Thompson, Steven Gerrard lifted those trophies above their head. And you as a kid, boys and girls out there playing football, you didn't dream about coming fourth and playing in the Champions League and the riches that came with it. You dreamt about playing in an FA Cup final. You dreamt about representing your country. You dreamt about lifting the European Cup. And that's what we need to get back to. That's what we need to do. So no more talking about the FA Cup and the League Cup like it doesn't matter. It does matter. It's a trophy. Winning breeds winning. It's a habit.
Absolutely, and that, as you said, that is the key. Football, supporting a football club is more than just like a franchise or a football club. For me, I like, listen, football for me is life. Like, Liverpool winning and losing dictates my mood. I love the club. I am enthralled in the club, and people can always, I always get the stuff, well, but you're Irish, why? Listen, I don't need to educate you. If you don't know why Irish people are so fond of Liverpool, Google it, mate. Yeah, I'm not here to educate you. I'm not your teacher. But listen, football is about
Irish
those passions.
Are one and the same, to be honest.
Oh,
we've the same sense of humor,
birds of
we've the same work ethic. We've got the same determination if we feel we're wronged. There's a lot of similarities between Irish people and Scouts. That's why we like them so much.
Yeah, birds of a feather stick together. Birds of a feather stick together, and like, most of Liverpool is bloody Irish. Like, but again, we're blue in the tea here, and that we're blue in the tea here, and that, Craig. Like, we know we don't need to justify ourselves for supporting Liverpool, and if you can't accept foreign fans, that says a lot about you than us. But again, it's about the grassroots. Like, I love Liverpool for the love of Liverpool. Like, I fell in love with, I'm a bit younger than you, Craig, not to remind you, but I fell in love with
just a
smidgen. But I fell for Fernando Torres and Dirk Kuyt and all these boys. That's my I love them. I adore them. And that's why I love the club. And that's what it should be all about, and that's why we're all here. Like, we may disagree, we may have differing opinions, but at the end of the day, we're all a part of the same team, and we should be in unison. And we're not like we're all for the betterment of the club, and that's as simple as that.
Absolutely. On this, by Sonny, thank you for the super chat, mate, first and foremost. Secondly, to address your point, it'll be interesting to see if Naby can stay fit, but I think it's not unusual for somebody to come in, and in this case, it's Naby, and for the Premier League to be a struggle for them physically. I mean, Daniel Sturridge's body broke down as well under the rigors of Premier League football. So it's difficult because you're kind of right in what you're saying. Klopp does push the players hard. They do work hard. He does ask a lot of them. And the Premier League is one of the most demanding leagues in the world because there's very little break. You're playing sometimes often twice a week. So it's difficult because Naby, as Paddy will tell you, and Paddy said this many times, has all the skill in the world. If he could say fit Paddy, God only knows how far this man could go because Naby Keita is an unbelievably gifted footballer.
Oh, and absolutely, and without a single doubt in my mind, Liverpool's best 11 should contain Naby Keita because he is that good. He has been blighted with injuries. But on that particular super chat that came through, not to be disrespectful, but I feel like the intensity of the AFCON is not as much as the Premier League in Liverpool. I think that's fair to say. I mean, like Naby Keita could be like 50% and still boss a game, with all due respect. The competition isn't exactly, and I know he's playing in a Guinea team that is not exactly world beaters. There's a few good guys in there, but Naby Keita, without question. Like I've dreamed about this for a while, and it's never going to happen. They just don't seem to align together. My preferred Liverpool midfield is Thiago in the 6, or sorry, not Thiago, Fabinho in the 6 with Naby Keita and Thiago either side of him. I feel like that midfield would be absolutely dynamite. However, they just will never play together. But I don't know about you, Craig, but I feel like that midfield three would be absolutely, dare I say, orgasmic.
Yeah, and then you've got the option of putting Hendo in if you need legs. You've got the option of things like Harvey Elliott, who we only got a glimpse of this season at the start of in that midfield position. And again, for me, it's all about partnerships and relationships around the pitch. And you've got a great relationship there with Elliott and Salah and Trent on the right-hand side. So, yeah, it's difficult because the system we're used to seeing from Jurgen Klopp used to mean that Jordan Henderson would boss the midfield with whoever was in there with him, Gini Wijnaldum. But that Chelsea game, that was a point for me where I really sat up and thought, hang on, we have 3 midfielders to their 2, and we were outworked in midfield. That would never have happened 2 or 3 years ago. So my question is why?
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know. Our midfield is, it's so devoid of goals. Like, we don't have a goal-scoring midfield. And that can really hurt us at times because against the low block and stuff, we really, really struggle. And the forward line can only do so much because without the delivery from the midfield, they're null and void. And that game against Arsenal last night was, that was one of the worst. I would go as far to say that is probably top 5 worst performances I've seen in the Klopp era. Like, you might gravitate naturally towards losses, but big losses. But just in terms of like the expectation and all that stuff, I feel like it was really bad. But yeah, our midfield lacks goals. I feel like I've talked to Steve, said it in our chat before. Like, as last night even before the game, how devoid of goals that midfield is. We need more creative midfielders. We're lacking. We're severely lacking. And the ones we have, like Thiago, just fucking made of milk or breadsticks or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I mean this. I hate these conversations, Paddy, because it always ends up that there are people with different opinions and it ends up in aggression. And I don't like that to be the case because if we're to achieve anything as a fan base, we need to pull in the same direction. We need to understand that often both sides have valid points, but it's finding a middle point. And for us, everybody agrees on Jurgen Klopp. I believe everybody loves Jurgen Klopp. Everybody knows the transfer committee is there. Everybody will agree that these players have given us the best days of our lives supporting the club. But ultimately, football doesn't stop. And Manchester City now are going to run away with the league in all likelihood. Chelsea are the defending European champions and are awaiting a place in the League Cup final against the victors of us and Arsenal. And to go out and play that Arsenal team after what they said, and by the way, funny story, Arsenal have asked for their North London derby to be postponed against Spurs because of one injury or one COVID case and an injury or two. It's almost as if
disgraceful.
There's a problem going on. And look, here's what I say to that Arsenal player that has COVID. I wish him a speedy recovery, and I absolutely understand that there's a tricky time going on now. So yeah, I wish him a speedy recovery, and I hope they get back. And look, the FA will decide, the Premier League will decide if the game goes ahead or not. But to me, mate, I just think we need to stop calling each other out. And there's too many people trying to create a divide between locals and overseas fans. It's not it. I think, and this is just my 2 cents on this, I think that the whole problem between locals and overseas fans just stems from the tickets. That's it. It just stems from, how do I say this, right? I'm very aware that Scousers, up until maybe 10 years ago, could go to games regularly and felt like it was part of their weekly routine, felt like it was part of their identity, and I've every sympathy with that. But to just say that any problem is because of day trippers or people coming in is complete bullshit. Some of the people that I've met, mate, would sing louder than anybody would know. Some of the people that I've met save their entire life for a trip to Anfield. Some of the people that I've met know stuff about Liverpool that I don't know, and I would consider myself a fairly knowledgeable person when it comes to our football club. So to me, the problem stems from the lack of availability of tickets. And we hear about the sweet spot being spoken about before, that FSG have said there needs to be a sweet spot where the demand is always ahead of the availability. So I think that this has been fans turning on each other because of problems that the club could have addressed a very long time ago. The ticket waiting list is a disgrace. The fact that you can't even get on the wait list to get a season ticket is a disgrace. The fact that we as fans are angered at each other because heaven forbid somebody is in a position or able to spend an extra 50 quid to go to a game because they've no other choice. But the real fucking problem, mate, the real thing that gets me is that this is happening. We're arguing with each other. There's bad blood. And these greedy corporate bastards are selling these hyped up sale prices for ticket, matching a hotel, 599 quid. But that's completely legal. That's completely legit. That is the problem. The commercialization of football and the turning the fans against each other when we all want the same thing. And it isn't an accident. It isn't an accident that it's happening.
No. Yeah, I know. Listen, fucking hell, Craig. Like you know yourself from the abuse you get online, but like TikTok, the amount of shit I get about go to games and all this and blah blah blah. Like up until I'm going in February, right? And for some reason I've happily been able to find face value tickets for the first time in my life. The first time. Up until this time, this is my first time getting them. Yes, this is my first time getting them. Right. Otherwise, I've paid. I went to the Villa game. Me and my friends, every single one was paid €400 each, just for the ticket. Well, it was a hospitality ticket, so we got a meal somewhere, but we don't give a shit about all that. We had to pay 400 quid just to get to Anfield, right? Now, listen, contrary to popular belief, I don't have the money to spend that every single game. But if I did, I would go to Anfield every single game possible. From Ireland, by the way, I'd fly over and back. Could I afford it? But not many people can afford it. And I feel sorry for the people who are not as unfortunate, like or people who are down on their luck and just can't afford it, and they're priced out. It's impossible to get a face value Liverpool ticket. You'd have to be you have to be a Scouser, really, like the proper to have the inroads there. But it's really I feel sorry for people who have never been to Anfield. They're not from such a flush family.
For the locals who feel priced out and that the club is turning their back on them. I really do genuinely feel sorry for those guys as well.
Absolutely, and I'm also as you were saying there, like the stick we get as foreign fans is despicable. Because I always say it, without foreign fans, Liverpool Football Club or any major club would be nothing. I know you'd like to think if Liverpool Football Club was supported by just Scousers, they'd be even shitter than Everton. You get me? Do you understand me? Even Everton have some foreign fans. It's only over the Wales. But, football clubs as an entity, they need global fans to keep the world going round, Without the foreign fans buying jerseys and all this and watching, foreign fans are integral of a global football club. Liverpool Football Club are one of the biggest clubs in the world. And I always get bantered for being an Irish Liverpool fan. But I'm like, without foreign fans, you'd be nothing. Do you understand me? The Premier League would be nothing.
Look at this. 2,000 quid to come from Australia to see 1-1 draw against Bolton. And I'm supposed to believe that this person doesn't care about the club as much as others. That's ridiculous. Even people can't afford to get to Anfield, by the way. Because
do you not think Jeff
can get there?
Yeah. Sorry. Do you not think Jeff there would go to every single game if he could? 2,000 Australian dollars. Yeah, that's a lot of money, and it's a big commitment, and he loves the club as much as anyone else. I hate this. Like, some people are lucky to be born in Liverpool. I wish I was a Scouser sometimes. I can't even lie. And fair play to them. But we shouldn't be, as foreign fans, we shouldn't be persecuted and ridiculed for not being going to every game. It's not feasibly possible unless you're minted. And maybe one day, Craig, with the success of this channel, we will be minted, Maybe one day we'll go to every single game, but it's not feasible. We have to pay astronomical prices, but it doesn't mean we love the club any less. And I seen comments on TikTok of like me, you, and Chris talking last night. Not a Scouser in sight. How many Scousers are in Liverpool's starting team? Trent Alexander, one. There's one. So if you're so if you're so pro Scouser and you don't want any non-Scousers, no one would play for Liverpool, mate. Yeah, you need non-Scousers. We're a global football club. So stop, instead of going against your own fans, go against the real negatives here and get together as a fan base, because we're all the one. No whatever nationality we are, we're all the one. As you said, Craig, we're all pulling the same way and singing from the same hymn sheet.
I made a conscious decision 3 years ago that I'm not paying any more travel agents fees to go to games. I'm not paying over the odds, because I used to pay between 400 and 600 quid to get over to a game. And I just made a conscious decision that I'm not going to go anymore. Unless I get a face value ticket or something very fucking close to it, I am not going to put my selfishness ahead of my family and what they need. So I made that decision. And because of that, I constantly get lambered with, you're not a real fan. When's the last time you went to a game? I made a conscious decision not to line the pockets of these travel agencies and these touts in my own mind. And I'm not, people want to punish me for that, fair enough, but I refuse to fucking do it because I don't want to line these people's pockets, because I believe it's adding to the problem. So I'm willing to step away from that and not go to see the club that I love, even though with the threats that we get constantly, and we do get them. I've been doxxed, I've been threatened, I've had to install security cameras at the house. It's fucking sick. But we're still here. We're still fronting up, and we're still speaking for the best interests of the football club as best we can. And we're not perfect. We will make mistakes, and we will say things that divide people at times unintentionally, but we do genuinely have the club's best interests at heart. That's one thing I can say unequivocally.
Yeah, no, it's just really, it's like I'm sick of hearing this stuff about us. Like, just, it's like, oh, it's like, what, do you have to be like born in Anfield Centre Circle to support Liverpool? No, we're a global football club. Naturally, there's international fans, and a shout out to Eliza John, who said the same point as me there before I seen it, about the whole, like, if people are so against non-Scousers, right? Well, then we'll do a five-a-side. Trent and Tyler Morton can play. Is that, what other Scousers do we have? Curtis Jones. There you go. Put three. There's three players to play. So if you're so anti-Scousers, show the same energy for the players. It's a global football club. Get your head out of your arse. Stop thinking you're superior because you were born somewhere and you're lucky enough to have a geographical advantage to support Liverpool. We're all the same, no matter what you want. We're all fans, and I'm so like the amount of shit I get on TikTok from people. It's an absolute disgrace. The amount of, and you yourself, Craig, as you said, the abuse you get. It's not right. We're content creators, and if you don't like that just because you're not that way entwined, fair enough. Doesn't make us any less of a fan than you, as much as you want to believe it.
I agree. And look, that's why we said tongue-in-cheek at the start of this stream, if you want to get on board with what we're saying and you have had enough of FSG's tight-fisted ways, use the hashtag Wolves Against FSG, because it will wind up the people that need to be wound up, and it just lets them know that we're all in this together. And yeah, we might be Wolves, but we're fucking proud to be Wolves because we love this
We're
football.
all in this together because we know Liverpool are winning the Champions League. We're all in this together. If you don't like foreign fans, fuck off, and you're racist, you wanker. I'm sorry, I had to get that out there.
What he said.
Yeah, I'm not. If you are against foreign fans, you're a racist. Like, there's no. I hear you're a racist now, father. There's no two ways about it. If you're anti-foreign, you're racist. I don't care. Print that.
Right, folks, we're going to bring this to an end tonight because I feel we're just going to go around in circles. But again, we all want the same thing. There shouldn't be divisions. We should be together. We should be looking for the best interest of the football club and each other as fans. And that is for Jurgen Klopp, the manager whom we all love, to get the support that he needs to get from the owners. And we need to start being vocal about it. And again, I would call on other fan channels, content creators, journalists to start asking the difficult questions, to start saying that Jurgen Klopp needs investment, to start saying that he can't keep pulling rabbits out of the hat, because it's not fair on him and it's not fair on us as fans that we're being turned against each other so other people can line their pockets. They'll sail off into the sunset, FSG. John W. Henry will jump on that yacht and fuck off back to Boston at some point. But you, I, Paddy, every Liverpool fan around the world are still going to be here cheering on the Reds with the lifebird on their chest, wanting the best for this football club. And that's what we need to remember. So look, I will say thank you to Paddy.
Absolutely.
For joining me. Thank you to Paddy for the points. Thank you to you guys for your input tonight. Again, love you guys to bits. We didn't intend to annoy anybody here. We're just wearing our hearts on our sleeves and saying it like
unless it was FSG, and then in that case we intended to annoy you. So fuck FSG.
Yeah, what he said. And don't forget, WFN 20% off, free shipping at manscaped.com. And yeah, lots of love to you. Wow.
Keen Camera, go on, Keno, what a boy.
Wow. That is so generous, Keen. Thank you, mate. Lots of love to you.
I love you, mate. God bless you, pal.
And let's see if we can get this Wolves against FSG thing moving, because it'll be our little thing and we'll know what it means and we'll know where it started and we'll know that we were in this together. So look, love you guys. We'll chat to you tomorrow. Thank you to Paddy and to you guys, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.